The Minnesota Vikings want to get their season back on track. It all starts this Sunday. Obviously, we roll in 0-3, coming off the loss at home against the Chargers. Go into Carolina against the Panthers, and we all thought last week felt like a must-win game. This week feels like a must-win game, and a game where I know you were kind of talking about this beforehand, that it almost feels like if we are going to win, it needs to be pretty damn convincing, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. A win isn't going to be enough. Like, if you want, as far as the fan base goes, and if you want any hope, because a majority of the fans, at least right now, I mean, of course, you're going to have the optimistic group of fans who are like, hey, we still are in this, we can still make playoffs, whatever. And then you'll have the pessimistic type of fans who are like, you know, you might tank right now or whatever. And then if you're a realist fan, you'll probably realize that we probably have too much talent to tank, but we're probably not good enough right now to go to the Super Bowl or anything like that. At least we haven't shown that yet. And if we still want that type of potential, you have to come into this game and dominate the Panthers, because a win isn't going to matter. Like, we're supposed to win this game. We're supposed to win this game to such an extent that if we lose this game, then things should probably blow up, because then we're going into Kansas City 0-5 after losing to one of the worst teams in the entire NFL. So you can't lose this game. Otherwise, you know, we're going to be talking about a lot. And we talked about this before, as JJ yesterday, JJ had his press conference. He's like, it's only been 3 games. Like, why is everybody talking about trading players and all that stuff? And I think that is fair at an 0-3 starts. But if you start 0-4 with a loss to the Panthers, I mean, even he might be on board with that at that point, because that's how bad losing to this Panthers team could possibly be. And if we win, none of the fans are going to care. If we barely win, especially if we have to come from behind at any point in this game, it's like you're supposed to beat them. Like, woohoo, you're 3-1 with the win against the Panthers. But if we come in here and we absolutely destroy them, it's still the Panthers at the end of the day. But if we destroy them and we come out swinging, and we've talked about this many times about KOC and Kirk Cousins coming in and being too conservative early, if we come out and we just dominate in a Miami type way, maybe not 70 points, but it honestly should be domination, big time. And if we do that, I think you will see a little bit of hope coming from the Vikings fan base, and a little bit of hope going into this Kansas City game. Because that's, I thought, like, if we barely win, it doesn't, like, we barely beat a good team. And assuming it goes like a lot of our games this year so far, and a lot of our games last year, that means we were probably playing from behind at some point. We were barely up this entire game. It ends up still coming down to the last couple last plays of the game or whatever, you know. So it's not just we can't just have to win this game. We need to dominate this game to kind of feel that hope going forward, because in my opinion, if we want to not just make playoffs and compete in playoffs still, even though we're 0-3 start, we need to see Kevin O'Connell and Kirk Cousins change their mentality coming into these games, and not just play not to lose, as we've talked about before, and come out and just stomp a team.
Right. And then it does come down to the other things that have been going on in the season. And that's one of the things Justin Jefferson said. He's like, I feel like as an offense, we're playing great ball, is the way that he put it. He said, just the only thing, we got to limit those turnovers and everything's going to be fine. That's the biggest thing. It's like, again, we've talked about it on here before, the whole feeling of like, nobody's beat us yet, we beat ourselves, which isn't true. I think it's an old saying that's just kind of tired, and it just doesn't really tell the whole story. I mean, yes, you're beating yourself with the turnovers, but namely against Philadelphia and the Chargers, your turnovers are giving another good team opportunities to possess the football and eventually get back on track. Like the Eagles started off really slow that game, right? Like it just, they didn't look like themselves, but eventually you gave them enough opportunities with those turnovers to where eventually a good quarterback like Jalen Hurts and good receivers like he had, I mean, Devontae Smith that night, killed us multiple times. Yeah. And it's just, that's the type of stuff that happens when you turn the football over. And I mean, we've been saying it since week 1. You can't, this feels like one of those games that, to me, you need to see domination, and everything needs to be as perfect as possible. Like, you can't turn the ball over. You can't give Carolina multiple opportunities, because it's any NFL team. If you give them multiple chances, eventually they're gonna bite you, right? So it's one of those, like, you have to win the turnover battle. But I think you need to go into this game and you need to have 0 turnovers. Keep clean football, no turnovers. just have your way on offense, come out firing, get Justin Jefferson the freaking football in the first quarter, get things rolling from that perspective. And then that is going to open up the rest of the offense. And that's the biggest thing I want to see in this game is offense, because that defense over there has some solid pieces along the defensive line. So
that's like their only thing that they kind of have.
Right. Absolutely. And who is the corner they drafted a couple years back? Is he out? It was Patrick Surtain, and then they drafted one as well that was near the top of the draft that year. I can't remember who. I
don't remember who that
it was, but either way, but this team, it's so all of the, like I said, I just want to see an offensive explosion. Like I want to see us come out, limit the effectiveness of a Brian Burns, limit the effectiveness of a Jeremy Chin. Like you need to come out and get your playmakers the ball and just start out creative. No more just 5-step drop, deep shot, run the ball, tight end screen. None of that. Like just move people around. Go no huddle to start the game. Do something just to get your offense in a rhythm. Like that's the problem. This team hasn't established a rhythm on offense. I mean, yet at this point, like
only when we're down. Weird. Only when we're down. That's right. Like, again, it's like you talked about shooting ourselves in the foot, and we want to talk about the turnovers, and that's fair. But even with those turnovers, a lot of these games should have not even came down to the end of the game. Like that Chargers game shouldn't even had to come down there, but we didn't give Justin Jefferson didn't have a single catch in the first quarter and barely had anything in the second quarter. And it wasn't until we're down, then all of a sudden our offense is flowing great. We're down points. Now we're decided like, oh, we need to go score. Oh, Justin Jefferson happens to be open. No one can cover him at all now. Jordan Addison, we're feeding him. He's getting wide open. Like it's not that. It's just I don't know what the play calling is or what you're trying to do, but it does feel that conservative. So I do think it's an aspect of us shooting ourselves in the foot there is because we can come out and straight dominate a team. We can see what happens when our team is doing its best. And we see it in the last 2 years, we've seen it every single opportunity to try to come back in a game in these last 2 years. So that's another thing too. Again, like the offensive explosion. This whole season, our whole season rests, especially if we somehow make playoffs and we actually have a chance to be good in there. Our whole team rests completely on our offense. I know some people are coming after our defense. We knew our defense wasn't supposed to be good. Our goal is just for our defense to be in the top 20. And right now they're sitting between like 20 and 25, I believe. And mostly of that is probably from the Chargers game. And we have played not easy teams so far, especially we played a lot of very difficult wide receivers, some of the most difficult wide receiver matchups in the entire NFL so far. So, I mean, you can say the defense for the most part, even though they got dominated in the run game against Philly and dominated in the pass game against the Chargers, that's what it was supposed to. We were expecting that. If we were going to be good this season, it was going to be based on our offense, but that means our offense has to be firing on all cylinders for the entire game and not just parts of these games and all these lulls that we had from last year. It has to be 4 quarters of offensive firepower, and that's the only way I think we dominate this team that we absolutely should do and continue to actually have faith and hope that we can continue doing that throughout the season.
Right.
I think that's the difference.
Yep. And then I want to kind of flip it back to the defense for a bit there, because this matchup feels like one that should be pretty easy to exploit. But I mean, kind of like you said about how the defense has played so far this season, we're seeing what we expected to see from a scheme standpoint. But I think it is definitely eye-opening. And, a lot of people said people told us in the offseason, this defense isn't going to be good. We're going to see that we don't have the right players for it. And at this point, those people are kind of being proven right. Like we like what we see from the aggressiveness standpoint. The blitzing is awesome. Like from the Donna show last year and now seeing what we got going on this year, it's much better. But you can definitely tell there's certain personnel pieces missing. And most of that, I think, comes from pass rush, where we blitz and we never get home, especially this last week. I mean, we blitzed how many times? And I think we hit Justin Herbert like 3 times and sacked him once.
Right.
And the big thing is we were expecting Daniil on one side, who has been what we expected this season. And on the other side, it's been nothing, because Marcus Davenport, the big free agent acquisition in the offseason, who I had some high hopes for, he's played 4 snaps this year.
Yes.
He still had yet to make any sort of impact. And listening to him in his press conferences, it doesn't sound like he's, I don't know. It's just weird. I mean, I know he did get some limited work in practice this week, so maybe he'll be ready to go. But man, it just feels, you're just kind of feeling like he's never going to make that impact. That was the biggest thing. Like, you needed 2 good pass rushers, and we both talked about it ad nauseum, even since before the draft last year. There's no size on the interior of this line, especially no size from a pass rushing standpoint.
Yes.
So the defensive scheme is everything we expected. Caleb Evans has shown flashes. Byron Murphy's been solid. Safety wise, Cam Bynum's having an amazing start to his season. Harrison Smith looking a little slow, but it kind of is what it is at this point. But like, it's the personnel just isn't there for the type of scheme we're trying to run right now. But this could be a game where you get back on track. I mean, it sounds like Bryce Young is probably going to play. I know he's been practicing this week. I mean, I know obviously we get to see Adam Thielen this week, who had a huge game last week, 11 catches, 145 and a touchdown. They got DJ Chark as well, 4 catches, 86 yards and a touchdown. So they're solid there. Hayden Hurst is an okay tight end, I guess. But this just, if Bryce Young is back there, this feels like a game that our defense should be able to get some sort of a footing and maybe finally get a big impact game out of this defense.
And that keeps
us right in it.
Yeah.
If not, keeps them down while our offense just keeps
right.
And this game, I'm not afraid of Miles Sanders. Never have been.
No, me neither. And this is a game, that's what I'm saying. Like, not even like this, first off, I do want to say, and they also have one of the worst pass blocking in the entire NFL this year. So like they're bottom 3 with pass blocking. So this is so this isn't even a game where it's like we just need to worry about our offense taking over. Like, our defense should be actually better than their offense, probably. I mean, I love myself some Adam Thielen, but we let him go to another team for a reason.
Right.
And he's their number 1 wide receiver. And then you got a young quarterback, a terrible blocking for this team like this. I mean, our defense should match up well again. We should actually have on both sides of the ball. There's almost nothing in this game that they have better than us. And that's exactly the reason, like, there's no reason we should play down to this team. And we can't. If we play down to the Panthers and still win, it means nothing to me. Losing this game is just like, all right, like, it's time we got to do something. Like, we can't start 0-4 and probably lose to Kansas City. I still want us to beat the Bears because they're a bigger dumpster fire than us, and then lose to San Francisco. And if we start 1-6, well, there's not any hope for playoffs. And we definitely don't want to start winning after that just so we can be an 8-win team, 9-win team and miss playoffs. And, especially if we do want to go grab our quarterback in the future or whatever. So that's why, like, there's not a single spot in this game that we should lose. This should be complete domination. And I don't want to see turnovers. I think this is a game, even with the turnovers that we've had lately, that even with those, we probably still should win. But I don't want to see that. We want to see a clean game. We want to go out and see what this Viking team is actually capable of doing, because we know the talent is there. And as far as getting some of this fan base back on board, it's what you're going to have to do. And playing down to them, being behind at any moment in this game, any of that kind of stuff is just not going to be enough.
Right, for sure. And I mean, I guess the bright side, though, if we do lose, at least the Bears don't get a higher draft pick because of the trade, because of the Panthers trade from last year.
Yeah, I know. That's one thing too. That's kind of sucks. Is like when we do beat them, and then the Chicago loses, and
they're gonna have
it's gonna be 1-2. They're gonna be 1-2 at that point, because that means Bears lost to the Broncos.
Yep. But
so that's annoying.
It'll be interesting. But anyway, this game, score predictions. What do you got?
Score predictions. We gave ours yesterday. I forgot what I gave, but I think it's going to be. I know our team is talented enough to do this. I'm KOC as the leader, not the play caller, because that's a little suspect, but we'll see what happens. KOC as the leader, 0-3. I know the Vikings are sitting here like they got to be hard on themselves at this point. Like, we're fucking all this stuff up. I think KOC, the leader, went in there and he's doing the leadership type of things he needs to get this team ready in this game. So I do think we come out firing. We do see a dominant performance that we've been asking for since week 1 of last season. I'm going to go with 36-13. 36-13.
Okay.
I forgot what I did yesterday. I know we did another one before, and I think it was around there somewhere.
I want to stick with my yesterday one. I'm going to say 27-24 Panthers. I'm sorry. I think we take the L here.
And
There's nothing this team has done. And I try to keep positive, right? Like, but there's
mhm.
nothing this team has done that makes me think that we're not going to shoot our, like last year. It's like, oh, they'll find a way. This year, it just feels like things are the other way. And this
Yeah.
team is just kind of lost right now.
No,
So,
I should have almost need to flip our little logos here.
yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. I hope they prove me wrong. This is
Yeah,
just
that's one thing about it. It's good. It's good to have
motivation. They're never going to see me say this, but just to know a Vikings fan out there says they're going to lose this game.
That's where we're at in this season. That's reality. That's where we are at in this season. It's fair to say the Vikings could lose this. They have shot themselves in the foot enough at this point in the season, and but we also do see the talent for them to come in here and dominate. And they have to go one. I feel like it's going to end up in one of the. Well, it should end up in one or the other. I don't think. I mean, if we barely beat them, it won't feel like anything. It feel like this game was kind of just pointless. I feel like so.
Yeah. We'll see. But either way, big game. Might be the last hope for this team to make some noise this year. We want to know your guys' score predictions. Drop those down in the comment section. Hit subscribe, like the video. We'll see you guys next time right here on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.